uh, continuation of green in the market, meme stocks going crazy, crypto going crazy. Everything seems to be moving with volatility. What are you focused on right now? Where is your attention, and how have you been approaching this market?
Yeah, it's still tough out there because a lot of the things, that were leading on these headlines getting destroyed today, the ags and fertilizers, oil and gas, a lot of the stuff that was acting really well and acting healthy, shippers, metals, that's the stuff that's coming in today. Actually, metals well off the lows. I'm looking at silver and a few of those names like AG, SSRM, MP, uh, TECK, Tech, few of those well off the lows. But some of the other groups, on the noise, on the, I won't call it noise, but there is a lot of noise out there. But on agreement and that type of stuff, that stuff that had been hot, reversing and selling off. Tech really strong. Came up, tagged the 200 day. Like if you're looking at the QQQ, tagged the 200-day moving average, found some sellers there early, right off the open, and especially gapping up as far as we've come, kind of gapped up into that 200-day moving average, found some selling, but look, recovered nicely and pushing back near those highs, breadth really strong, and again, near the highs of the day. So the resiliency of this market, because honestly, yeah, every reason this morning to see it continue to sell off, kind of, one of those sell the news type events, and it really just stuck with the stuff that had been hot on those headlines, and love to see a name like Google up $30, that type of action when we've come so far in a short period of time, and then kind of getting what at least looked like exhaustion into the 200-day moving average. But here we are by midday having recovered, again, just showing how resilient this current tape is.
What about the violent movements we're seeing now in, social sentiment-based stocks, where we saw this a little while back, and then it all kind of cratered, and now it seems to be rushing back, and a lot of liquidity in the market seems to be getting pulled towards those areas. I talked to people and I said, do you trade or invest in these? And those are two very, very different things, right? And a lot of people do trade these, even though they have no interest in the, underlying asset. Is this something where you would ever touch like a Jimmy, AMC, others, or do you stay away from them?
And I won't trade those specific names because it just gets too crazy in there. But when it's taking place, something like AMC, when it has 20% short float, it doesn't take much to kind of like get it started. It reclaims a moving average or takes out a descending trend line, something like that off of the lows, and it gets some momentum, and that just kind of builds on itself, and they keep shorting, and then they keep having to cover, and then you have those organic buyers who are coming in, just to day trade it. But that's exactly what happens, and next thing something like AMC has doubled from 15 to 30 in like 2 weeks, and that is typical of short covering. And same thing with GME. Again, you're near 20% short float in the name, and it takes multiple days just to cover that. And that's if you didn't have the organic buyers in there and the day traders and then the shorts covering. And when that all kind of comes together at the same time, that's what you end up with is one of these moves where same thing here in a couple weeks, it more than doubled. You went from, the lows right around 80, and earlier today you were tagging 200. I mean, it's crazy when we see these moves, but we've seen them before, and we know that once it gets started, that momentum picks up, and then, like I said, you have both that combination. That's the thing about on the short side with these heavily shorted stocks. You get the combination of both the short covering and those people that just want to participate in the momentum, and day traders, and then it ends up with that monster squeeze. And that's what we're seeing. So when I see something like this, and I'll pick up on, that GME and AMC, and here we go, meme stocks again, and that I'll kind of scan through like what out there has a really heavy short float, and can cover something like Overstock. OSTK is what I'll participate in. So instead of jumping in GME or AMC, I'll find some of the others that are kind of on the outskirts of that, don't get talked about as much, don't have as many eyes on them, but tend to react the same way. You see Overstock up 7.5% today, and it's just because it's another one with 17% short float and 3 days to cover, and it's starting to squeeze along with the others.
Perfect. All right, I just went ahead and I put out a post. Anybody that has any stocks that they want charted, feel free to go ahead and drop them. That post is pinned up top in the nest as well. So you can comment any tickers on that. And I'm just going to start feeding them to Ben right here. I dropped a few other invites to Danny and others, an exclusive. But while we got them, we're going to keep rolling. So Ben, let's do BABA and NVIDIA.
All right, let's take a look at BABA first. And, like we were just saying, when they get some momentum and they really start moving, even though BABA doesn't have anywhere near the short interest like we were referring to with AMC and GME, once they get that momentum off the bottom, and if you look and kind of zoom out in BABA, it had this long channel, goes back to last summer, and then once it came through that channel and started to move, just picking up momentum. These stocks, this group acting a little bit healthier off the bottom. Once you push back above that kind of psychological round number of 100, got back through the 50-day moving average, kind of moved sideways, and now it's allowing the 10-day and 20-day moving average to catch up to price. And you got the 200-day there overhead, but that's another 36 points away at 152. Not a whole lot as far as resistance. Once you can push through this most recent high, little pivot there at 124.11, you've got a nice window there up to the 200-day moving average. So nice little run there. If you tag the 200-day, that's still like 23% from here. So I definitely think there's some potential there. This isn't something I would typically get involved in, but acting well off of those lows, big volume coming in. And note, if you're looking at that chart, you see the volume to the downside really picked up and then came in even heavier back to the upside. That's just telling you there was exhaustion there in the sellers. There was capitulation there, and then up it went. NVIDIA is one that I'm still in. I know it well. Climbing the right side here, back above the 50-day, back above all of the important key moving averages, 10, 20, 50, 200. Kind of gapped up and maybe getting a little bit stretched here. When it gapped up this morning, you could tell that some of the big smart money was selling into that because it immediately pulled back off the open, was as high as 289, trading below 283 now. But I still like the structure of this coming up the right side. We've seen big volumes. You've got multiple pocket pivots. Pocket pivot is the highest volume over 10 sessions, greater than any selling volume. And you've got like 3 or 4 of those off the bottom and up the right side. So 269.25 was the pivot I was really watching for a big volume move through, and we got that last week. And now just looking for it to challenge that $300 level. We probably need to come in and consolidate a little bit this recent move. I mean, we're still 6% above the 10-day moving average, 11% above the 21 EMA. So it wouldn't surprise me if this kind of digests that move a little bit, goes sideways, look for volume to ease up if it does so. And then, once it can push through that 300 level, I think that's the big level that's next that can kind of act as resistance. But if it pushes through there, then you look for that symmetry up the right side, 346.47, the prior high. You'd kind of complete the cup back up there, and then depending on how it gets there, maybe puts in a handle up there. But I really like the structure here. I like the relative strength that it's showing. I like the group, which is A rated. And considering there's not a whole lot in tech that's acted really well in A rated, but semiconductors are one of them. So still looking for NVIDIA to push through 300. And if you look at AMD in the group, it's kind of behind NVIDIA as far as this move, not quite demonstrating as much relative strength, but it's good to always see the group mates, participating as well. And AMD kind of getting its act together last week, reclaiming the 50-day, the 200-day, back above the 10 and the 20 as well. So good strength there.
Okay, definitely good to see continuous strength in the semiconductor industry. And thank you to everybody who's been dropping more tickers for us to take. That has been helpful. I see already 17 comments on this and some quote tweets. Let's keep it rolling. All right, Tilray. That one had a lot of action around it the other week. And then here's some that are coming up on earnings. We could do Lulu.
So Tilray, ton of call flow. I've been highlighting that over the last week and a half. They came in and started getting really aggressive with both CGC and Tilray. And you've seen it respond to that, which so often happens. You start to see the flow first. And then, I know there was some news, that was really helping the group as well. But what a nice run it's had off of the lows. This was trading with a 5 handle early last week, and now you're at 8. So the next big, resistance area there, 1054, that's a 200-day, but still about 20% away from here. You got a pivot there at 866. Watch the move over that 866 level really sets it up well to make a move towards that 200-day. And that 200-day sitting at 1054, there's really not much in the way of resistance between here and there. And then again, look at that volume, just monster volume coming in there. And watch the group mates. CGC kind of pulled back a little bit, but it's kind of in the same spot. 879, the recent high there. You push through there, you got a shot at the 200-day there too. And that comes in at 1326. And again, if you get over that level, 879, one more level to be aware of at 961. And then above there, you're into the 200-day moving average. So this group really heating up. And I think that's mostly because of the positive news behind it. But again, if you can keep an eye on the flow, it was kind of hinting that there was a lot of money going to flow into this sector last week.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think that the flow has been really a nice thing to be watching, at least of late. It certainly hasn't hurt to be able to say, hey, there's a bunch of unusual options coming in on this. Saw it yesterday personally with BBBY, where there was just a ton of people buying way out of money options. Next thing you know, pop 10%, right? And you can kind of see it on a lot of these low flow quick movers as well. Awesome. Jake, how's it going?
Going well. Sorry I'm late.
You're all good, man. Talk to us. So are you starting to trade a little bit more as the market environment has been flipping around?
As much as I can. I'm trading. I'm in a CGC position from last week. Just common stock, and then I've got AMD for May and June expiration. So just kind of riding that. But I've never really been an active day-to-day like day trading person. So, just kind of swing trading what looks good. But that was kind of why I was late here. I was just on a call with our dev team. So my position has really changed. I am just not watching the markets like I used to, because I just have completely changed roles at TrendSpider. So I'm really focusing on building the company again, rather than providing market commentary and all of that like I was before as kind of the chief market analyst. So definitely not as involved as I was.
All right. Regardless, walk me through a little bit of your thoughts on the market here. VOO, SPY really running back towards those highs. Meme stocks popping off. How are you feeling with it all?
Well, usually when meme stocks have, bounced in the past and had these huge runs, it has been a little bit of a caution sign for the markets. But, if you look at the monthly chart on a lot of these names, they're all looking good. And, the monthly candle closes on Thursday. So you're also going into a really strong time of the year, going into April. So, SPY, the Qs, IWM, all do historically pretty well in April. So you do have the technical side of things with the monthly candles looking good, and then you've got that historical seasonality with these high win rates. So, all in all, the trend is starting to reverse in the short term, and even your longer term moving averages are starting to slow their descent and starting to potentially flatten out and head the other way.
Perfect. All right. Continue to keep an eye on that as well. Sounds good. All right. Let's walk through a couple items here. So, Jake, let me throw a couple of names at you to get charted, and then just want to give everyone a heads up. In about 10 minutes, we want to talk about a pretty cool tool that we have been utilizing, and that is going to be a insider trading widget. A lot of people don't really pay attention enough to this, in my opinion, but I think it does say something when executives at a company, specifically, CEO, CFO, people like that, start either buying or selling really large amounts of their stock. Uh, you know, for better or for worse, right? We saw it with kind of Zuckerberg, where he was selling every single day throughout all of 2021. And then what do you know? I mean, stock fell 50%, but he took massive gains up there. We saw it with, I think Asana was another one. Disney, we saw with the purchases right when they fell off from or Netflix actually, right when Bill Ackman was buying, we saw insiders buying. So we're going to actually teach people today exactly how to follow these insider buys and sells really easily with the widget inside of TrendSpider. And Jason's going to help us out with that. We're going to do that in about 5 to 7 minutes. Just something for us all to, I think, really take into account when we are trading on a regular basis. So with that being said, let's pull it back out and throw a couple more of these at Jake. All right, Jake, let's do Lucid. And along with Lucid, let us do CBS.
Okay, have not really looked at either one of these names, so not too familiar with their price action. But yeah, Lucid had a little bit of a dip in mid-March through that descending triangle support, and then you kind of reversed, had like a little oops moment there. Oops is when you break down below an area, and then you kind of reverse and close above that area, and that's kind of what we saw on the 15th. And since then, you've pretty much recovered, and you've got this bull flag starting to break out today. So all in all, definitely a strong looking name. And your volume weighted average price from the January highs is right around 29.50 or so. So that would be an area that I'd be looking at above. CVS, not looking too good. Not sure what happened there. But you can, if you're looking at the daily chart, you can draw a pretty obvious looking support zone starting from the October 13th candle, connecting it to the February 24th wick, and then giving yourself a little margin of error with the zone tool on TrendSpider, and you'll see that we're kind of getting down to that area. If we close below, let's say 103 on the daily chart, then this uptrend pretty much since since August, it will be starting to break down, and then your VWAP From that, the start of that trend from October 13th is right down around 99.75 or so.
Okay. Keeping an eye on those two. Ben, let us do Tesla. And then with Tesla, let's get some SoFi in there.
Tesla and SoFi, you got it. Tesla, another one that had really strong flow before this big move, April 1000s, May 1250s. I love how it went double inside last week, had a nice little consolidation of this move. I would have loved to participate in that, but the big gap didn't allow my entry. If you're in from lower, fantastic. I mean, it's been a great run. I think when we last talked, we were talking about it needing, to push through the year-to-date anchored VWAP and that, which was just below 900. So we're up a couple. It's moved a couple hundred points since then. Good again, getting kind of extended as most things are up here, but it continues to grind higher, and we continue to see flow. Yesterday, it was number one as far as on a dollar basis. Again, aggressively coming for it, and I believe it was all the way up to the July 1800s, which is crazy considering it's trading below 1100. But again, very, very aggressive into the name, big volume on the way up. Would not surprise me at all if the general market comes in and does take a breather, which we keep kind of preparing for, but it just keeps grinding higher. Wouldn't surprise me if it did come in, fill the gap. You got a couple of anchored VWAPs below from off of the high and the earnings gap, and those come in right around that $1,000 mark. And they're just now starting to flatten out, turn back up. So if it does come in, I'd look for that level to act as support. We'll take a look at SoFi. Oh, nice move today out of that little flag there off the bottom. Wondering if it had news. I don't see it. Up almost 9% today off the bottom and back above the $10 mark, which is always an important level psychologically. Getting back above there is big for SoFi. Hopefully it holds that. Next stop, probably the 50-day, which is 1106. So you got about 9% there to the 50-day. You push through there, then I'd start to look at that pivot near 13. So get above the 50-day moving average, maybe consolidate a little bit, turn that 50-day back to the upside. Then I'd be looking at the $13 level. And then on continuation upside above there, the 200-day, which is declining, that's just above 15 at 1560. So definitely a good move today and a good start back above $10. But keep in mind, this stock definitely still in a downtrend, kind of zooming out on it. The trend is still down, has work to do, but definitely some levels of important back above the 10-day, 20-day. That's a good start. Next needs to hold this $10 level, close above the $10 level, and then push back above the 50-day, which, like I said, still about 9% above.
Awesome. Danny, what's going on?
Oh, nothing much, man. Just battling this terrible head cold that I've had for like a week now.
Ooh, sorry to hear that. Are you okay to share for a couple minutes how you've been approaching the market today?
Yeah, absolutely. If I go into a coughing fit, I'll I'll just mute myself. But yeah, good to go, man. Throw some names out there.
Well, first off, we'd just love to hear if there's anything that you've already touched today, if there's any stuff that you're watching and how you're approaching this market with so much volatility.
Yeah, absolutely. Caught Apple this morning. Let's see. Caught Apple the 177.50s. There was a little bit of flow that came in early this morning, but I jumped in pretty quickly. It was showing some really good relative strength. Just watching. Generally, what I do is I'll pop up the 5-minute chart And that's basically what I'm watching in the morning. And it was showing relative strength while the market was, moving, but then pulling back. Apple wasn't pulling back. So I was able to get a couple of trades in on there. I did exit. I think yesterday on Spaces, we were talking about Microsoft. I had rolled up to the 315s. I exited those for about 125%, I think, this morning. So that was a pretty good trade. That was really the only two that I was watching. There were some names. Roblox just came over. I was on voice with Blackbox about 45 minutes ago, and there was some nice flow that was coming in on Roblox. I posted a chart. I'll pop it up in a minute. Roblox has a nice inverse head and shoulders on the 4 hour. And I'm watching. I did take the 52 Cs for next week. The flow was actually the 52 Cs for this week. I like to go out a little further. So I went out to next week. But what I love about the setup on Roblox, if we can get over, I would say if we get a daily close over $52, we have a move that can happen all the way up to $59, and then there's a 10-point gap. Is it 10? Yeah, it's about like an 8 or 9 point gap to the upside. So I'm really interested to see how Roblox closes today. I did put out some further dated uh, 55 and I think 60 calls for Roblox. I have to double check that, but I definitely have the 52s for next week. Let's see what else is going on. What's it's difficult when you have a gap up. Like we had about a 1% gap up this morning on SPY and the Qs. And so, what I like to watch on gap up days is, sometimes you're going to see some of the names pulling back and filling those gaps, and that's kind of what we started to see, and that's what really clued me into Apple. And then that flow came in. So going to be watching Apple mostly for a continuation, similar to how I played Microsoft Friday into Monday, as well as Tesla. Now Tesla, I think again yesterday I mentioned watch for a gap up today over 1100. We got that. Unfortunately, we did pull back and back test and close that gap. So I want to see Tesla if we can. We're hovering around 1093 now. So I want to see if Tesla can close above 1100 today. If it does, then I think we still have a little more room to the upside. But yeah, today was definitely a little bit more volatile, which is why I closed out my Microsofts, the 315 roll-ups, which actually turned out to be a really good decision. It wound up back testing that 310 level that I mentioned yesterday was a tough level. So I think for Microsoft, what I'm going to be watching, if we can close above 310, then I think we could still test 315 this week. And then over 315, looking at around 319, 320.
Did you cut out for anyone else?
Am I still good?
Sorry, I had to get back.
I
You
hear
were
you
all good
fine,
for me.
Danny.
Evan,
Yeah,
can
I
you
hear
hear me?
Danny fine. I hear you too good, Wolf, actually.
Oh, I'm back.
All right. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I don't know if I cut out for anybody.
Sorry, Dan. You're all good.
Oh, okay, my bad.
For like 5 seconds for me, but I don't think for anyone else.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, there's definitely some other select names that I've been watching. Bloom Energy, BE. I had a trade plan put out on that. Let me just go back to my daily chart. For a trigger entry over 2481, we got that this morning. That looks like it's pretty good. It's holding. It's got a 1 day squeeze firing. It's firing today, but sometimes that can revert back to the squeeze at the end of the day. So I want to see if that continues to fire. If that fires, I like Bloom Energy here. And again, there's some other names we could probably go into later. AMD failed at 122. I was watching that. AMD had a nice run last week. So over 122, I really like that. And Snow. I remember we were talking about Snow yesterday, those 140 calls that came in really, really heavy. I mean, we gapped up, and I think what did Snow hit today? Like 144. Sorry, 244 was the, or 240s were the calls. Yeah, that hit 246 today. So that was a really nice move overnight. As we always say with the flow, somebody always knows something, which is why we continue to watch the flow and see what comes over that looks interesting. But yeah, those are the names that I traded and that I'm watching for today into tomorrow.
Awesome, Danny. Thank you, sir. Okay, so I mentioned this beforehand. A super, super cool feature we're going to be discussing today. We're going to take a minute to do it. We have Jason here from the TrendSpider team to talk about. is this insider trading. So a lot going on here. At the same time, also, again, for anyone that's listening, all the analysis that myself, Danny, Ben, Jake, that we're doing, we all do with the TrendSpider platform. It is a all-in-one charting data center. And I have teamed up with the TrendSpider team, and I've been given the single best discount code on the internet available for the platform. So if you want it, feel free to go ahead and DM me. It is built into a link. And the best part is 7-day free trial, completely free. I mean, this week, the market's popping off. I don't know if there's a better time to go ahead and use this right now. So I recommend, first off, hit me up. I'll give you this link. It'll get you the 7-day free trial. And then at any point, you can upgrade for 35% off any of these. And I may also post them a little bit. We'll see. But I want to now go to Jason to talk a little bit about this insider trading module, which is such a cool feature of the platform and makes my life really, really nice because I just have it always kind of popped on the right. So whenever I go and I just search in a stock, I not only see the chart, but I also get to see this module. Jason, all you.
Yeah, thanks, Gav. So yeah, the insider widget is really interesting, right? You know, there are very few people that understand the financial workings of a company better than the insiders, the executives, directors, high-ranking employees, hedge funds that have, you know, direct access to these people. They're privy to all kinds of information that we as investors are not privy to. And therefore, when they buy or sell, you know, that can kind of give us a little bit of foreshadowing about what might happen in a name going forward. Of course, they sell for all kinds of different reasons. You know, for many people, this is how they are paid, right? So in some cases, you'll see very regular sells from executives. Maybe they're every other week, maybe they're once a month or whatever it may be. But sometimes, you know, things are irregular. You pointed to Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, he made it pretty blatantly clear throughout, throughout the end of last year that potentially there was some pain ahead. I mean, whether or not people took his selling as a reason to have caution or not, I can't say. I remember at the time wondering, you know, what's this guy got in mind? Now, of course, he has millions and millions of shares, right? So him selling millions of dollars a day theoretically may not be concerning when it's happening, but we see kind of he sold that last big leg right before the big downturn and he got out. Now, is he buying right now? He's not buying right now. That's kind of interesting. And the insider trading widget, you know, it can give us kind of like a precursor, potentially a precursor to what might happen with the stock. Just recently, we posted a Trade Like an Insider blog. You guys can check it out on the blog tab on our website. That kind of goes over, you know, the tech sell-off, and there were a lot of tech insiders selling during that time. We take a look at energy, and we see on the big energy names, or at least the big oil names, ConocoPhillips, Chevron, Marathon, we see insiders selling kind of during these big rallies. So it's kind of interesting, you know, if insiders are getting out, maybe it's time to kind of reconsider your long positions. We can also see where insiders are buying now. You know, like you mentioned, ASAN, that their CEO, Dustin Moskovitz, he's been very, very bullish, buying kind of all over the place. And what's kind of interesting about him is that he doesn't seem like he's trying to top tick or bottom tick. He's buying all the time. So, you know, that tells us something. More recently, we've got the DocuSign CEO. He bought the absolute bottom on, looks like March 15th, about $5 million worth of shares. You know, what the old adage is that these insiders, they sell for lots of different reasons, but they only buy for one reason, right? They buy because they think the stock price is going to go up. So it's something to definitely keep an eye on. Like you said, it's very easy to load up into your sidebar there. And it just shows us a breakdown of what insiders are doing. In some cases, we see buys. In some cases, we see sells. Sometimes we see awards and gifts. You know, there's nothing wrong with knowing that insiders are getting rewarded shares. It happens all the time, like I said, for compensation purposes. I kind of take those with a little bit less weight than I do a buy or a sell. You know, if I see a CEO or somebody really, really loading up, that's going to just give me a little bit more confidence in the trade. Now, do keep in mind the insider trading widget is only available on the elite and the advanced plans. So if you have a premium plan, this could be a catalyst for an upgrade. It's a really powerful little tool, and I know that we're going to be adding more functionality to it in the future. So definitely something to, keep an eye on, pay attention to.
Yeah, I really like it how you can kind of pop it into that right side. I know you had a couple of examples. Feel free to also pin up anything into the top that you would like. Jason, if you have those articles you want to pin up. And for those that have been listening and have been hearing all the great parts about this platform, again, I am not placing a trade, but I'm not looking at it on TrendSpider. I'm looking for obviously support and resistance and things like that, but also so many other things to support. I can look at earnings analysis and data. I can look at RSI, MACD. I can look at unusual options. We've covered that. You, by the way, get everyone who's using unusual options platform, you get that built in with TrendSpider. You can also, of course, look at the insider data. So yeah, a lot going on. And for everyone that wants to check it out, I just went ahead and pinned up top into the nest. It is the last post on my timeline as well. And all you have to do is if you click on that link, it is built into there. It is 35% off for TrendSpider Tuesday. So really like everybody who joined and checked that out. Danny, have you been using the insider sell feature or buy feature at all?
I actually have not been using it yet. I've been meaning to check it out. It just the time hasn't been kind to me the last few weeks.
I like it because it's an easy one to pick up because it goes right on the sidebar, so it just kind of like sits there.
Right.
And then whenever I just type something in, it just like populates it so easy. And it's super. This is the reason I like the insider trading and buying as well for anyone that's listening is because not only do you get shown where people bought and sold, but you actually TrendSpider charts the graph over the buys and sells for you, so you can see the stock moving up and down, not in correlation, but over the same time period as it. And then also when you look at, oh hey, here's a big sell here, you can click in to the person, and there's like a little like pop out menu. And you can click and it'll pull up the SEC document on Edgar for you. It's called a Form 4, I believe. And it'll pull up the SEC Form 4 and you can literally read that. So it'll like pull it right up for you. So, if Nancy Pelosi or maybe someone else is buying some of these, not something that interests you, well, you should definitely be interested in the people that are actually working inside the company and what they're buying. So just a little bit of a crossover there. Love it. Awesome. Jake, anything else you want to say on the insider stuff?
Not really, other than, I would definitely focus maybe more on insider buys than sells. Insiders have a lot of reasons to sell. Some of it is simply to maybe sell to get some liquidity for their child's college or what, there's go on vacation, just there's a lot of reasons for insiders to sell. There's really only one reason for insiders to buy, and so that's what I would focus on when you are using the insider trading tool.
Perfect, cool. And shout out to the people in my DMs. I am happy to drop this to you right now, so you can check it out at least for free. You don't even really have to pay off the bat. Might as well check it out for free. Roll with that for 7 days and see where it takes you. Okay, cool. Let's keep it rolling here with some more names and charting from the crowd. And of course, you can all click into that TrendSpider account that's up here as well at any point in time. Throw them a follow, and you'll see more info on how these things work and charts and things along those lines. I mean, if you're in a charting space, it's probably what you're interested in. So let's do some of the ones that are actually polling in Market Madness today now. Let's throw some of those out there. So I'm going to bring it to you, Danny, first with yours, of course. And let's chart Upstart and Boeing.
Sounds good. Give me 1 second. Get those open. So UPST has been showing a little bit of interest, I think yesterday and today, catching some flow. So I've been watching on the daily chart. We've got this beautiful wedge forming on, like I mentioned on the daily chart. What I'm watching for price-wise, I'm looking at around 127. If we can break above 127, then I have a zone a potential zone of around 155 to 158 that I think we can come up to. It looks like it's in a bottoming formation here. Um, I'm seeing a little bit of bullish divergence as well on the daily, and we've been flirting around this 50 RSI for about a week or so, and some series of higher highs, excuse me, higher lows. I'm watching to wait and see if we can break that wedge to the upside over 127 and change. Then maybe we can start to see some higher highs being made as well. So I think from 127, I'm looking at 158 to the upside. I think the move can happen pretty quick when you go down to the lower time frames. I'm looking at a potential wave five up to about the 130 to 133 region. If we do get that wave five, then I would watch for that ABC retracement to the downside. And if we get that nice 382 retracement, then I think that's the 1-2 setup for potential wave three up to 160. So that's what I'm watching very closely on UPST. In regards to Boeing, they had that plane crash. I guess it was about a week or two ago. They did sell off on that news event, but they've been making on the daily chart some series of higher highs and higher lows. There's a little bit of a channel now that's moving up, counter trend to the current down channel that they're in on the daily chart. Bear with me one second while I get this chart bigger. So yeah, we've been in a downtrend basically since March of 21, and it's been pretty consistent. It's come up to the top of the channel four times, and it's heavily gotten rejected. I mean, we're seeing some really big sell-offs on the top of that channel. So right now we're flirting with the center of that channel, which has also been a contentious level. If we can hold this 190 level, then possibly we can start to move back higher up to the top of that channel again, which is also right at our supply zone. That supply zone starts at around 207. So it is potential to see Boeing make a move up to that 207 level, but I think that's where potentially we stop. And that's going to be a make or break level for Boeing. As I mentioned with that down channel, it's been pretty persistent. Once you come up to that top of the channel, it flutters for a few days and then it just gets rejected and gets slammed right back down. So for Boeing to have any chance to move up for the rest of this year, it's obviously got to get past that channel and start to make a larger time frame series of higher highs and higher lows. I don't see it right now. There's just so much noise in the news right now for Boeing. So I personally think not only because UPST is my pick, because it was my pick before that Boeing issue with the plane crashing. I still think UPST easily glides past Boeing in that first round.
Okay, great analysis there. Let's look at a couple of these other matchups. Ben, coming to you. Let's talk about AMC versus Spotify.
It's tough not to lean towards AMC right now, the way it's acting, right? I mean, it has just had this monster move off of the lows and more than doubled now. I mean, just 2 weeks ago it was under 13, and now, today, what was the high today? 34. I mean, just a monster move. We've seen it before. And yeah, just incredible when these get that momentum behind them, how they move. Spotify, not a bad day today, up 4%. But comparing that to the move that we've seen previously in AMC, it's kind of dwarfed. You've got Spotify coming up right into that 50-day moving average, 159.48, where that sits, and Spotify trading 156, just over 156. So potential for resistance there. I also note that Spotify, that volume kind of decreasing on the way up. So as it's climbing, less and less volume, and the exact opposite going on with AMC. That volume's increasing, and today you're already on a huge pace, like over 400% above average pace as far as volume goes. So it got rejected there at the 200 day today, but got to go with AMC there. Still looks like it wants more upside.
Okay.
And when it comes to sentiment,
yeah.
it's determined by sentiment, right? Our winner.
It's a poll. It's a simple poll.
Yeah, so I would think that the price action in AMC alone kind of tells us where the sentiment in the name sits. It's definitely is squeeze worthy.
And yeah, okay. And Spotify here. I know you kind of led with AMC, and you like AMC. You know how it's looking and everything. Spotify's starting to curl, right, a little bit here. Do you think it perhaps found that little bit of a bottom over there at the 119 range?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, you've had a nice move, but you've gone from the lows there around 118, just above 118, to now 156. But I look at that volume drying up, especially over the last few sessions. You're minus 50% basically on the pace today. So that kind of tells me that the interest at this level, at this price, is starting to dry up. You also have a declining 50-day moving average that's coming down, just above where it's at now. So when I see that declining volume as the stock's making a climb into a logical resistance area, meaning the 50-day, starts to concern me a little bit that maybe the power to push through that isn't there right now. I still think this could consolidate sideways, maybe ease up a little bit, see that volume dry up, know that the sellers are out, and then push up and through. But it's come, a long way in a short period of time. So seeing it push through that 50-day moving average right now, the volume tells me probably not ready to do so right now.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, let's take a look at a couple of other ones here. So I'm getting some DMs. So just so everyone knows, this is a pretty pure technical space. I know we just talked a little bit of social sentiment, but we won't be going over too many fundamentals in this space. I know we always kind of get that question. We are going to do them in other spaces, though, so don't worry about it. When it comes to having those fundamentals, we'll get them in place. Not a problem. Just not in this space. However, you still can see a lot of the fundamentals through TrendSpider. No worries about that. You can take a look at different pieces of data and alerts and strategies that involve all those different types of things, P's and whatever else you're kind of looking for. So you can feel free to check that out on there. All right, let's take a look at one that's popping off today, Jake. Let's do Hood, which gets some big news today that has been kind of driving it as it moves upwards. And in addition with Hood, let's take a look at Apple.
All right. Yeah, definitely a big breakout here on Hood. First thing I would kind of look at is this high from August and kind of just connect these points on the chart. Pretty much, connecting the March 22nd wick to
Is it just me that's getting cut out here?
Yeah, a lot of these growth.
Sorry, Jake. I cut out for a second.
A lot of these growth names look the same. So, Hood looks almost identical to Netflix and PayPal. So, these growth names do have very similar charts. So I don't know what the news was on Hood, but apparently it was good. So yeah, I mean, you definitely got some areas above to watch. The VWAP above from that August high is right around 26, 27. And then, let's see. The volume by price tool shows, some volume holding above around 18. So, 18 would be definitely an area, 1825 to 1850 would be an area that price would need to get above for this to really get going, I think. And what was the other one?
The second one there was Apple.
Yeah, Apple. I mean, Apple's pretty much gone straight up the last 10 or so days. So, I wouldn't be shocked if this has a little bit of a breather. But it is kind of above. You've got a pretty decent size volume shelf around 172, 173. So if we did pull back, that would be an area for the price to potentially kind of base a little bit. But yeah, this thing's gone pretty much straight up. It would be healthy for it to get a little bit of a pullback just to reset. And then on the monthly chart, I mean, the monthly chart looks really good too. So, this is definitely the time to start looking at the monthly candles since we are closing the month on Thursday. So, yeah, definitely start looking at your monthly candles to get an idea of, what we're looking like into April, which, as I mentioned, is a very strong time of the year for a lot of these larger names and, the market as a whole.